and welcome to the Gospel of this week. Today I'm going to talk about something that is dear to my heart, the cup of communion. But I want to show you something so deep, so beautiful. It will bless you and it will change the way you take communion. Do you know when Jesus spoke on the last night before he was betrayed and crucified, he took the third cup of communion because there were different cups that the Jewish people would take on the Passover. And he took the third cup of communion and he shared it with the disciples and he said, "This cup is the cup of the new covenant in my blood, which is shed for you." And when the disciple drank that cup, they understood exactly what it meant. It was making a reference, not only that they were entering into a binding covenant with a God who loved them. Because there Jesus was making reference to a tradition in the Jewish culture. When a man wanted to marry a woman, what would he do? He would go to the house of the woman, knock on the door, but he would come with a dowry, amen, with a sum of money, almost like as a down payment, amen, and he would ask for, for marriage, and he would take a cup of wine and give it to the woman. And if the woman drank the cup, at that moment, marriage was sealed. It meant, I'm giving you my life, and now I'm entering into a covenant with you, and I'm married to you forever. And from now on, what would happen? They did not see each other. The man would leave the house, would go to his father's house to prepare a place for his new bride. Amen. Does it sound familiar? In John chapter 14, in verse 1 through 3, Jesus spoke to the disciple and says, "Don't let your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me." And then he said, "In my Father's," he had just told them, "I'm getting ready to leave and go back to the Father and, live them and be no more." And they were like so sad, so troubled. And he says, "Don't be troubled." He said, "In my Father's house, there are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go and prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also." What was Jesus here making reference to? To that tradition, that wedding, betrothal tradition that a man would do with a woman to give her the cup. And then he would leave to his father's house to prepare a beautiful place for his bride. And he would knew that when the place was ready, he would come back at night and come with his friends to come and get his bride and take her to bring her to his father's house. And that's exactly what Jesus was saying. And when Jesus commanded us to take the cup of communion, and he gave that third cup, every time he said, "Do that in remembrance of me." Of what? That Jesus gave his life for us, but he left to go and prepare a place for us. And he's coming again. And during that time, during that absence, that sometimes was 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, they didn't know how long it would take to prepare that place. But during that time, what would the bride do? She would separate herself unto a husband, meaning she did not belong to anybody else. And she would prepare herself. She would bathe herself. She would sew herself beautiful garment. She would, anoint herself with oil. And she would do all kind of things to separate herself, prepare herself, make herself ready. Does this sound familiar to you, my friend? I want to tell you, every time you take the cup of communion, you know what you need to remind yourself? I'm partaking in communion because I am separating myself unto God. To make myself a bride, beautiful, with that wrinkle, with that spot of wrinkle. I'm separating myself from the world and its way of living and its way of doing. And I'm separating myself unto my bridegroom who left to prepare a place for me, and he's going to come back for me, to take me for the wedding day. This is exactly what's getting ready to happen to you and to me. Amen. That's what Jesus told us. So I really want to encourage you. You know, that is why in Psalm 23, King David said, "The Lord is our shepherd, we shall not want. He makes us to lie down by green pastures. He leads us by the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. And though if I walk in the valley of shadow of death, I fear no evil, for he is with me. His rod, his staff, his word, his spirit, they help me. They help me to take me out of that valley. And he prepares a table before me, even in the presence of my enemy." You see, when I take communion and I drink the cup and I eat the bread, it's to remind myself, I need the grace of God. I can receive the grace of God to separate myself, to walk in that path of righteousness. I take the grace of God, his word, his spirit, to wash myself, to anoint myself, to make myself ready, because the Lord is coming back for a bride. He's coming back for me, to take me to that place he has prepared for me. Oh, the day's coming soon, my friend. And I want you, every time to take communion, to take it with emotion, not like a riddle, to remind yourself, I am that bride that is loved. He gave his life for me, and so for me, I'm preparing myself. I'm separating myself. I'm making myself ready, because he's coming on his white horse to take me again and bring me to that wedding. Amen. Do you get it? It's exciting, isn't it? And it's a motivation as a bride to walk in that place of righteousness, of holiness, to be holy like he's holy. Not by a forceful duty, but by love. By love, motivated by love. Amen. God bless you, and talk to you soon.